Welcome back to another edition of the NCCR podcast. I'm the man behind the scene. You know what I mean? And your host, Stess, with the most Stess. These two ladies hail from the great state of Washington. WA. One is the Tacoma Queen, and the other one is from parts unknown. Give it up for Kim, Matson, and Amanda Sykesick.
Geez, that looked painful. Are you all right? Did you burst your lung over there?
Oh, I am
That's a lot.
so happy.
Parts unknown?
I know. I sound exciting. I'm here
You're
for
mysterious.
that. I am. I like
you
it.
Are to be continued, apparently, because, wow.
It's good.
Wow.
I feel good about myself this morning.
I'm glad I just have a single syllable name.
We could add more.
Oh, it's coming.
It's coming.
Oh, boy.
So, ladies, how
Mm,
are you doing?
good.
Good.
How was your weekend?
It was
Too
eventful
fast.
and good.
Yeah.
Memorable.
Memorable.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mine. You have better adjectives than mine. Mine was too fast.
Too fast. It was rapid.
Yes. But it was good. How was yours?
It was a flowing, free weekend for me.
Wow.
I love that.
I love, get things flowing,
Yes.
things
Okay.
cracking,
All right.
and so I was
Did you just like hurl yourself into the weekend and then things
I
just started
did.
happening?
I did. I was just hurling,
Wow.
all the way to the punch bowl.
I have an incredible
Oh.
mental picture of his weekend.
Me too.
It's good.
Well, we're still in Jude, even though it's only one chapter.
Yes.
Can you believe that?
Yeah, we're almost done though.
We're getting there.
I can't believe it.
But actually, Stephanie started us out with a question.
Yeah, that was good.
Intention versus impact.
Mm-hmm.
She stated it as a question, but of course, intention is the purpose or reason behind an action, and then the impact is the actual result or effect of said intention.
Yeah.
It's a good distinction, though, because a lot of people have good intentions.
I think so.
In fact, I've heard the road to hell is paved with those.
Oh,
That's an oldie but a goodie.
yeah,
Good one.
yikes.
Deserves a repeat.
That's good.
But here again, we're talking about wolves and how they want us to believe, what they want us to believe, how they get us to follow them. And
I thought Jude did a really good job of like
There's-
painting up. It was
Yeah.
a clear picture.
well, and I was just going to kind of give a little synopsis of
Yeah.
12 and 13, and then we can get into a little bit. He's describing wolves as, false teachers, as blemishes in the Christian community, meaning sources of contempt and offense and
Mhm.
corruption, and then shepherds who only feed themselves, which any story about any shepherd in the Bible, that is
Right.
polar opposite of how a shepherd
Yes.
behaves. Clouds that deliver nothing of value, so just the pretty, come look at me, fluffy ones, but they
Yeah.
don't yield anything like needed rain or
Right.
cover for
Yeah. They just
um
blow around
Yeah.
from thing to thing.
barren trees 2 times dead, so falling away after seemingly having a faith, right?
Mhm.
So, and we were warned about that.
Yeah.
And then wild waves with a lack of direction. They're unstable, they're destructive, unpredictable.
Yeah. And then you think about the shoreline they leave behind, right?
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. So I thought those were really well painted pictures
Very clear.
of how a wolf can appear to be a thing and
Mhm.
then be something completely opposite. But we're drawn to these things. Fluffy clouds are pretty to look at,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Waves, I like looking at waves kind of
Right.
crashing against the
Yeah.
shore. I like, I mean, those can be, a shepherd. If somebody's, hey, come over here and follow me and do this
Right.
thing that I'm doing over here. So
Yeah.
it's easy to see how they are attractive,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
is why we need to know the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he compared wolves to three notable people
Yep.
in Jewish history.
Yep.
They're negative examples.
Yep. They
But
are.
yeah, so he talked about Cain,
Mm-hmm.
which, I did a little bit of a deeper dive on Cain. It's easy to go down a rabbit hole with him. But in Hebrews 11:4, it says, "It was by faith that Abel brought a more acceptable offering to God than Cain did. Abel's offering gave evidence that he was a righteous man, and God showed his approval of his gifts." And I just was like, it is. It's like a lack of faith, right? That leads to these areas of envy, or with Balaam,
Mm-hmm.
greed, or with Korah, rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just such a good example. And I love that he pulls from the Old Testament
Mm-hmm.
to give us those examples.
Yep. Yep. I mean, you get hired by a king to curse God's chosen people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
and how you're just so willing to compromise
Okay.
everything for money.
Right. Well, everybody's got their
Yeah.
go-to, right? When it comes to straying, everybody's probably got their little favorite
True.
itch
Yeah.
that needs to be scratched, right?
Yeah. Well, and the men Jude is warning us about, or the men, the women, the people, whoever, they all have the same heart as these
Yeah.
three examples.
Yeah. Well, and they're all twisting God's grace to
Yeah.
justify their behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And when we get sideways with God, there is judgment on that. There
Yeah.
is it's not a mystery.
No.
If we stay on the wrong path, we will be judged for that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think these just constant reminders, and again, Jude is a short book, but it is, I think the words used here are less, you do have to do a little more digging because they kind of have a different tone to them.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because while I feel like Jude is a warning, I also kind of feel like it's a little bit of a rally cry, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's go. Let's do this.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm telling you all the things to look out for.
Yeah.
So let's go do our thing.
Yeah. But in verses 14 and 15, it does talk about judgment.
You want to read those?
Sure. It says, Enoch, who lived in the 7th generation after Adam, prophesied about these people. He said, "Listen, the Lord is coming with countless thousands of his holy ones to execute judgment on the people of the world. He will convict every person of all the ungodly things they have done and for all the insults that ungodly sinners have spoken against him."
Also referenced in Jude. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly Enoch is a prophet of old. And yeah, I mean, there's plenty of warnings. There's plenty of flags being, warning flags.
Yeah.
I mean, short of putting up one of those red blow up car wash dudes that just is, you can't not see it.
Yeah.
You have to kind of be trying, I think, harder to not see the signs than to see them.
I think so. It also made me wonder, like, do we take God's judgment too lightly? Or do people that we know take God's judgment too lightly?
Well, to your point, because we were talking earlier about,
Yeah.
preparing
Yeah.
to go be judged in a court of law, for example.
Right. Yeah. So I read this great analogy that was, if we're truly accountable to God, you think of it almost like if you were accused of a crime and you have a court date before a judge and you don't prepare at all before you go before that judge, and thinking that we have the advocate, Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
We have time to prepare, and we have, like, we know what's coming. It's in God's word. It's repeated to us over and over and
Right.
over again.
Yep. Yeah, because if you're going into court to battle your case and you don't have an advocate,
Mm-hmm.
you're representing yourself and you are unprepared.
Yeah, you just show up
Guess
that
what?
morning.
Yeah, I think I'll wing it.
Yeah,
I think I know enough things to be good.
I can't even imagine.
But that's foolhardy for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
For sure. I did like the reminder that was spoken yesterday about the voices you are following and what you allow into your life or your heart,
Yes.
and how we're supposed to guard our heart. And I don't mean that in a legalistic way, because that'll look different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But like, who are you following on social media? What are the
Mm-hmm.
podcasts you listen to? The music, the TV shows, the movies, the people in your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're supposed to guard our heart.
Well, yeah, because if they're pointing you away from Jesus and
Yeah.
toward things of the flesh, if you will,
Right.
whatever those are, food, drink, pleasures, whatever they may be, if they're taking your focus away from your relationship with Jesus and your accountability to others in that walk with Jesus, because
Yeah.
people do watch one another.
Right.
And if you claim to be a Christian, you need to have some evidence to support that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I like the accountability piece too, because Steve's brought up the last 3 weeks maybe about, the small groups that we do and how we get together, and there is accountability in
Yeah.
that for sure. And just that, and even if you don't have anything to confess to your small group, or you don't, you just are feeling engulfed and loved by that set of people.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder to just it's good to just have a check-in, right?
Yeah.
A check-in point.
Absolutely.
So you can stay focused.
Yeah. Stay on the path.
Yeah.
Stay in the fight.
Well, and I had a question too. I mean, how do you feel about flattery? Some people like it. Some people shun it. Some people will give it to you even though you're not looking for it.
Yeah.
This can be wolf behavior, trying to butter you up almost. Or I think for me, flattery is an uncomfortable place to dwell. I don't like that.
I think there's a difference between flattery and a genuine compliment. Right?
Yes. I think flattery is a repeated attempt at something similar to a compliment, or you just kind of want to steer clear almost of a person because they're going to say something that's
right.
That's not what's happening here.
So my younger son can see through it like nobody's business.
Really?
And it's amazing because he had the choir teacher was their orchestra teacher for a year, and they were terrible. She was just very she would like give a lot of compliments and try to boost them up, and he was always just like, I see through it. I hate it. I wish he would stop. I wish he would just tell us, like, we need to work on this stuff instead of trying to butter you up, because you can see through it.
Yeah.
Well, most people can.
Most people can. It doesn't make you feel better.
No.
It kind of makes you feel like
a little dirty.
Kind of. Like, that's not even true. And then you look at that person in a particular way, and it's, what else do you think? What else are you saying? Where are you going with that?
Right.
You start to question a lot of different things.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think a compliment is nice and well placed, and it's
right.
That's great. But the flattery thing that's just excessive.
Yeah, I don't
like it. Anything done to excess.
Yeah. But again, I think it comes back to what's in somebody's heart, right? And God sees that, but we don't always know or have the ability to see that. You have to give people the benefit of the doubt. Their actions, I feel like actions are a language, right? And so
sure.
You can tell what somebody's intentions are by how they're behaving or what they're doing, but it is really about the heart.
Yeah. Well, and that's a question I had too, is, are you grounded in what you know, or in how you feel,
Yeah.
because you can feel a whole bunch of different ways in the course of a day even, but being grounded in the knowledge of Christ lets you do that, because you can
Right.
always come back and
Yeah.
check yourself,
Yeah.
right?
And I think
Guide
that's
yourself through it.
another reason why it's important to be in community with people, right?
Yep.
So that you aren't alone in these feelings. That how often have you been alone and you think something in your mind and you build it up and then you talk it out with somebody else and they show you the right way, or they point you to different perspectives
Or
that
they
help
help
you
you
to see.
understand because they did that too, or
Yes.
had that too,
Yeah.
right? Because when you do kind of live in a bit of a vacuum, your thoughts can kind of take hold, right? Because I don't think
Yeah.
anybody else has felt this way about this, and then you
Right.
realize 500 other people did too. So
Exactly.
it's good. It's good to have accountability, people
Mhm.
that can walk with you and be honest with you
Yeah.
about all that.
Yeah.
DeVandis, what do you got to add? Nothing?
I do.
Something?
I do. I like the analogy of the devil's punch bowl,
Yeah.
and
Mm.
how you can get trapped in and just continually getting sucked under, and the waves continue to beat you, and
Mm-hmm.
there's no escaping out. I love that analogy that
Mhm.
Pastor Steve brought Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. There's, I mean, you think at some point the wolf talk would get a little tedious, but it just isn't
No.
to me.
It's so good.
It just keeps rearing its ugly head, and you're like, yeah, I hadn't thought about that one, because there's still every once in a while I'm going, well, I didn't look at it that way, or oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you can get lulled into a sense of um, well-being for yourself, and
Yes.
that's a dangerous
Yeah.
place to be, I
Yes.
think.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right, Kim, what question you like to leave the audience?
Well, I'm thinking the only one I haven't really parlayed into part of our conversation is, are you a faith defender?
That's a good one. Something to ponder on.
Well, and it kind of reminded me of, putting on the armor of God that we talked about a few weeks back,
Yeah.
and kind of reminded me of that sort of a thing. And then I also wanted to just maybe leave with the one of the songs we sang on Sunday was one of the lyrics is, "You make all things work together for my good," and we
Yeah.
repeat that, and I
Yeah.
just find a lot of joy in that. So
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Good, good.
All right. Well, that does it for this edition of the NCCR podcast. Tune in next week when these two great ladies come with something new from Pastor Steve to you. Until then, we are out.